was going to introduce her, Alan.
Well, you can introduce her. I just want to say
you can add whatever you want to say.
All right, you introduce her. I'll add stuff to her because, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so guys, we're fighting over Bridget. Actually, Alan does Clubhouse with Bridget very often, and they're very, very close. But I got her to come on the event, so I'm just happy to introduce her and with Alan. So we have Bridget Renee Holliday. She's a Starseed Channel, multidimensional medium, and a Galactic Peace Ambassador. Mm-hmm. I'm staring right in your eyes, holds frequencies of unity consciousness and grounds them into the human experience. As an Ascension-Contact specialist, she communicates with the higher realms and assists you to expand those innate connections within yourself. Her mission, should she choose to accept, which she did, is to inspire you to shift perspectives, expand your consciousness, live your soul's purpose, and remind you that you've trained lifetimes for what you're here to do. And I want to tell everyone that Bridget has a chat on Clubhouse, and her voice is I swear her voice has been trained from lifetimes to bring healing and awareness about consciousness. So I'm happy you're here, Bridget. Now it's Alan's turn.
The Clubhouse is Ascend and
Awaken Ascending.
Awaken.
Right. Awaken Ascending, probably a couple of times a week. But I just want to say, when I heard Bridget on Clubhouse and all her credentials Joan just read, I knew she was a part of our family, and I reached out to her, brought her in, and she has her wisdom of lifetimes to share with us today. So thanks for being part of the family, Bridget.
Yes.
Oh, you too. Thank you so much.
I just want to say one thing. I love that we didn't rush you. You took your time. You're like the goddess. You're in your empress chair right now, ready to share with your people. That's the feeling.
I just also want to point out what Joan said, the sound of your voice. There you have a real quality of vibration. So if you're not watching, just listen to Bridget speak, but it's also great to see what she has to say too. All right.
See you in person today too. So take it away, Bridget. We're happy you're here.
So much love for both of you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Neil, this has been amazing. So I'm just deeply grateful to be a part of this and to be here with you all. And all of the speakers. What's funny is I had no idea what I was going to talk about. My team was being a little persnickety in their own way. I think they wanted me to channel everything today. But last night I was feeling a little nervous. So I was like, what are we talking about? Let's just give me something so I don't feel nervous. And funnily enough, they brought through a bunch of things that totally align with what lots of the speakers have talked about today. So all in divine timing. And I'm just deeply grateful that all of you are here. And those of you that are watching the replay, thank you for your presence. Thank you for being. Thank you for enjoying the human experience in whatever way that looks like for you. So they really did a beautiful introduction for me, Joan and Alan. So deeply grateful to both of you as well. And really, as Joan mentioned, I'm here as an Ascension-Contact specialist during this period of humanity's evolution and consciousness. And this is not a title I created for myself. This is a title that my soul team, and for those of you that are wondering what a soul team is, they are the beings who stay out of the human experience. They are friends and family from beyond the human earth experience, I should say. And they are those beings that guide and assist us along our entire journey. They understand why we're here, what we've come in to express, what we've come in to really explore. And we set aside what I understand to be predetermined, I want to do this for sure kind of things, right? And so they'll be the ones that'll help nudge us toward those things. But from what I've received and what I see with people, I often see people's life paths whenever I meet them. And what I see with that life path, visualization that I receive is that whatever we've come here to explore and experience, we will hit regardless of even if we feel like we're going backwards, right? So there's no right or wrong way to do the human experience, as I'm sure most of you that are watching know. But really, my soul team, I've been communicating with them since birth. I have a collective. We all do. Some collectives are smaller, and others are larger. Again, there is no good or bad with that. It is just what we've come in to do and the assistance that we will need for the people that we are going to be connecting with, really, honestly. At least that's how I perceive mine. So my collective began communicating through the angelic beings. I often say that they raised me when I was little. And within my collective, I know them all by frequency. I don't ask for names because frequency to me is more of a name than a human earth label would be. And so what I do is I sense the frequency as they are communicating, right? And we can go into more detail in this maybe a little bit later in here, but at the beginning I was communicating with angels, and then a little early, in my life when I was probably about 6 or 7, then I had other beings within my collective step forward and say, okay, we are this and we are that. But what I will say, and this is bringing it around to something that I know is near and dear to Alan's heart, and probably to everyone here. I have had a lot of experience with all different types of beings from many dimensions. Some that we would label, higher vibrating, and others that we would label lower vibrating from very small age. And one thing that I grew up being was kind of a spiritual warrior, at a certain age because things were coming in. I actually had trauma at a very young age and continued to add a little bit to that trauma as I grew up, right? Like we all do. We all, kind of stack the trauma up. That's how we're taught to do the human experience, right? Until the last couple of decades, few decades, I would say. So with that, what I know now is that I had resonance within my own energetic system for beings to come in who we would consider gray, right? Not gray beings like extraterrestrials, but in the scheme of if we look at things as light in the higher and dark in the lower, which I don't really like to say that about the lower because darkness to me is the place from which everything is born, but we would consider them, lower neutral, right? And so my first experiences were with these types of beings, but also with people who had left the human form, as well as angels and elementals. And so I've had a long line of crazy experiences over the years with all different types of beings. And in that, with new introductions of different types of beings, especially those that were intense and challenged me, it enabled me, it served as a key, right? So it enabled me to sort of unlock doors within my own consciousness for access to information that did not come from this human experience, right? So I have an ability now, and I've had it most of my life, where if something comes in, even if I'm not seeing it visually, with the combination of my physical eyes and what I like to call first eye, but we'll call it third eye because that's what everyone else does. If it's not a combination of that or within the mind screen, right, where we have our memories, sometimes I just sense it, right? I could be doing other things. Doesn't really happen as much anymore in my life, but we'll consider like a little bit distant past for me. When they come in, I would just expand my energy and I would act as a battery for them. And so they would become very almost like engorged, so to speak, energetically. And then from just the smallest amount of energy. And then I instantly had this ability to know what they were and how to remove them, right? And so this was a practice that I had for a lot of time. Now, removing them wasn't always necessarily in a harsh way, right? But I did it enough in my spiritual journey that there came a time period when I walked into a house. I've told this before in shows. There came a time period when I walked into a house that everyone in there scurried to the outside edges. And at that point, I started learning because it broke my heart. and saddened my soul that everything was afraid of me because I was just, okay, you got to go back where you came from. You got to go back where you came from. I was doing that so much in the spiritual warrior mode. And this was, 90s, right? Early 2000s, that everything was afraid. And I went to my team and said, in that moment, I said, there has to be a better way. There has to be a way in love. And that is where we are now. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because within Clubhouse, I'm very new to ufology. I would say I started learning more on a deeper level about ufology last April. So I know the basics that everybody knows, pretty much the things that are really common until then. But I've been in a number of ufology rooms on Clubhouse, which is a audio only app. And they talk about, nuts and bolts, right? A lot of the time they talk about the vehicles, right? And proof, wanting that hard proof. And then this book that Alan, I heard him talk about it so many times, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. I think that's the name of it, right? Came out, and the conversation started shifting, almost frantic in some ways. And it was like, how do we, rectify the paranormal aspect with the, extra, what I call star beings, because it's a lot easier than saying extraterrestrial, interdimensional, extra-dimensional, ultra-dimensional, and so on, right? But they're like, how do we rectify these two things? And from my experience, I was more in the paranormal world and in the communication world with higher dimensional beings most of my life, and having interactions with those that were teaching me, really reminding me some of my masteries that I've brought in from other lives outside of Earth, right? So for me, when I had my two contact experiences as an adult with two very different, we'll call them interdimensional beings, I was like, it all makes sense. Like, it totally makes sense to me how they fit into the dimensional layers, right? So when I was talking to my team last night, like, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? I have things that I would love to talk about. And they brought this in. I was like, oh, yeah, well, this is beyond UFO disclosure. So it totally makes sense that we would bring in something like this. So there's a lot of things. Let me check my notes and make sure I'm on topic, you guys. So, okay. Yeah, so as Alan so beautifully worded, as did almost everyone, I think everyone else actually that has spoken, the connection is consciousness. And the reason consciousness is the connection is because we are multidimensional beings. Within our own human expression, we are holding frequencies for many other dimensional expressions that we are sharing with our soul, right? And within this is what we have, the illusion of dimensions, and we often explain it as layers, right, one above the other, but it's really like a sphere, and everything is enmeshed into this giant source sphere, right? So if we, and as I'm sure a lot of you are experiencing this right now, if we come in and begin to awaken aspects of our consciousness, we're bringing more of our soul light into our human experience. What this does is brings us into soul senses, as I like to call them. Some people call them clairs, telepathy, empathic ability, all of those things. But it also activates within ourselves higher dimensional frequencies. So we begin to have this blending of the world that we're perceiving with the world that we call the invisible world, or, the hidden world, or the other side of the veil, things like that. So we have this blending effect that I've been experiencing most of my life. There have been some times when it's been a bit more quiet in my life, but we have this blending effect where we have multiple types of phenomena happening simultaneously. And you can walk into a space and feel every person that has had a human experience is still hanging out in what we call the other side of the veil, right? Which is actually a carbon copy of what we are here, without the ability to interact with the physical, unless you learn how to do it, right? So we'll have that. We'll have dimensional layers of beings that are fourth dimension, and my experience with the fourth dimension is there's so many layers in it. And then it's almost like dimensional planes of existence within it. We have within the lower fourth, we even have, dreams time, right? And the astral. We also have in the upper fourth, we have other bands that are, like we have Akashic records. And this to me is, from my experience with the fourth dimension and fourth dimensional beings, within the lower dimensional layers, there are also what we call passengers, or some people, I heard a word that today, they called them parasites or something like that. I call them passengers. And there are layers of different types of those beings. Some of them are fully formed thought forms that humans have created and that they have been evolving themselves over time. We also have the beings who are enacting with us in the control constructs, which is what my team calls it, which is a part of the human experience that we have from a higher perspective been sort of in contract with them for, so that we can have particular types of experiences within the human overall experience, right? And those are actually being deconstructed, right? So we have all of these different layers of dimensional beings, some of which, people would call, they've labeled them like demons, and then they have all of these other types of beings that are able to take form in the fourth, so they can actually, like I call them shifters, like shape shifters, so they can shape shift from what we would consider less density into like a physical form. There's all different types. And I mean, I can't even begin to even probably put a number to the different types that I've experienced in my lifetime. So if we're adding that with the beings who are in higher dimensional forms or even equal to us, then we have all of the layers of what I like to call star beings. Now, for me, star beings aren't really just beings that are from star systems. They can be interdimensional. They can also be what I call ultradimensional, which often has, beyond the what we would call physicality spectrums, right, of expression. But they can also be multi-universal, which a lot of them are, who have come here for this universe experiment, so to speak. So to me, it all rolls together. And the fact that that people are experiencing these in particular locations, like the, what's it called again? Which, Alan, can you help me? It's the ranch, Skinwalker Ranch. Got it. Never mind. I feel like 20 people just said that to me out loud. Thank you, whoever you are. So places like Skinwalker Ranch, where there are enormous portals, which is a part of Gaia's technology, her energetic technology. There are enormous portals, and particularly in that location, any of you who use your inner sight to see externally, I recommend looking at the size of the one that is there, and having been around portals and having opened them myself, both consciously and unconsciously, which we all have the ability to do. I can tell you that they can be, so to speak, colored by the frequencies that we bring into them. I've also closed a lot of them for people who didn't understand what they were doing over the years. I don't do this for a living, you guys. I don't close portals for a living. So I can tell you how to do it. If you email me, if you're one of those people that's like, I've got one of those and I want to close. That's not what I do for a living, but I've done it for friends and many, many times. And what I can tell you is our energetics can actually, because we are multidimensional, right? We can access our own portal technology, and we can adjust the portal technology that our planet creates because we are in oneness with our planet. We are the gardeners, so to speak, right? Or so we should be. And so if we come in with a lot of fear or with, maybe, ill intent or things like that, we can take a portal that is only accessing higher dimensions, and we can now allow that portal to access lower dimensions. That can also happen if very traumatic events happen around a portal that energy is drawn into it usually, or overlays it. And then that portal is recoded, even in an unconscious situation, to access not only the higher dimensions, but also lower dimensions, right? And a lot of the time, what I find is that it's accessing particular layers of the lower fourth dimension, which hold what I call passengers, right? So for me, if you put it all together, it's just a matter of really understanding how everything is connected in with one another. Sorry, you guys, I'm checking my notes again. Yes. Okay, so basically we're all sharing the same space. And it's just a matter of how we can see, right? So like, it's like those glasses, I don't know, they're kind of a steampunk thing, but I think they come from like the old days where you can change from white lenses and add yellow and then add another color, right? And you create multiple spectrum vision. It's like that. That's kind of what we're doing. So as our consciousness expands, then we are, able to perceive more of what exists. If all of us right now hit a fifth dimensional consciousness, we would probably be really freaked out because the way things look in other dimensions, we would consider not only just odd, but often monstrous looking. And just because something looks like that doesn't mean it is, right? So I'm really actually very grateful that the ascension is going at the pace that it is. I know a lot of us are like, we're ready. Come on, we're ready for this fifth dimensional experience. But if you shifted into 5D right now and saw some creature hanging out in your, house or right outside your window that you had never seen before, you probably get a little freaked out, right? So I think, this is why my team always, especially the star beings, they're always talking about how it's really important for us to do not only, our honing of our abilities, but our inner work, because we are, whatever is a vibrational resonance for our the vibration that we're holding can see us and interact with us. So if we're holding a lot of slumbering aspects of our consciousness that are containing a lot of cobwebs, or are very dense, then we are now a vibrational match for that within our world. So if you are a person who is, newly expanding, right, and on your consciousness journey, and you're seeing and feeling funky things, look within. Use it as a message to go within and look within yourself. And really, the inner work is super important. Meditation is key. And I know there's another, I think I'm skipping ahead, but, yeah. Okay. So basically my team is saying last night, I'll say, yeah. Okay. So they were saying that in particular, they used these words when they were channeling this through. When we do the inner work, it aligns us with very benevolent beings, like naturally benevolent beings, right? And so it's a frequency alignment, right? So we are aligned with them when we do the inner work, and we are peeling away the layers of the onions. And really, trauma is not, we're not meant to hold on to things, right? We're not meant to hold it in and carry it around with us for a really long time. So, we're just peeling away the layers of the onion of things that we've adopted into ourselves and called us, right? But they aren't the true essence of us. We're designed to have an experience and have it move through us. So I'm kind of going to go on a little journey with you guys, and I hope you can follow me on this. My team wants me to bring up, they want me to bring up that contact with star beings is happening on a one-on-one basis and with groups of like-hearted people. It also happens from pre-designed situations that we have created for ourselves with our own star family, that will enable us to have the potential for a fast track in consciousness. That's actually what happened with me. It's happened with a lot of people that I know. Now we can choose our own adventure from there, right? Like always. So we have the contact experience, then we get to decide how we're going to roll with it going forward. Are we going to maintain a fear-based structure because we didn't understand what happened? but also because it might have been really scary in some ways for us, right? So we can hold ourselves in fear. We can hold ourselves in confusion. We can hold ourselves in, a period of cognitive dissonance. And we can also, prevent ourselves from seeing what comes next if we hold ourselves in that. Now, it's totally understandable if people do that. And I'm not negating anyone's experience by far. After having two, technically, in that way, myself, I can totally understand. But I will invite you, if you're still confused and you've had this, I will invite you to look within and allow the things that are asking to be shifted to fall away, because new will come in and fill the space within your consciousness and within your external reality that will support you in going forward. If you are a person who is having experiences with, we'll call it a star being, and you feel like it is not in your highest and best good, and you feel like it is, impinging on your divine sovereign free will, I will say that there are a lot of things we can learn from that. But if you don't want to, that's okay too, because we have free will here. And I don't know if you can see on my name, but it looks like Joan's image is up, but hopefully mine is too. My website is there, and I have a blog, and there's a contract nullification and release on there that you can say. It's very powerful. It covers a lot of angles. My soul team and I actually channeled it through for people that were experiencing that, because there are beings who are hanging out with us in the earth plane that have been inadvertently invited in, right? They're not on the guest list. I often call them loopholed. They've loopholed their way into the human earth experience, or someone has invited them in, but they didn't necessarily go to that someone. They could come to someone else who has a frequency that they're curious about or whatever, right? So not that they're all, malevolent and out to get us, but if they're not here as a galactic ambassador, I can just tell you, if they're not here for humanity's highest and best good, then and you don't feel like you are having a very positive experience with them and actually getting support and love and guidance that supports and uplifts you, then by all means go and do this. This also works for any kind of lower vibrating being. It's not just for extra-dimensionals, interdimensionals, and yeah, pretty much the ultras aren't going to do anything like that, or extraterrestrials, I guess. But yeah, so you can use it for anything. So, and if you know someone that is in need of something like that, feel free to use it. Make sure that you read it all the way through before you actually speak it aloud, and speak it aloud with gentle command, but standing within your sovereignty. And sometimes if you're feeling weakened by experiences, it's good to have someone with you, that another human that will help you feel supported. But you can always call in your soul team for this kind of stuff too. So I just wanted to touch base on that, right? That for just a moment. And let me check my, you guys, I'm checking my notes a lot today. Yeah, okay. So, oh yeah. So they brought through the inner work to integrate, heal, transmute fear, and fear-based patterning will assist, but joy, creativity, and play raise vibration, which makes connecting and contact easier and clearer for us. So one of the things that's really big with my team is they love play. So when I can communicate with them all day, any day. But if I want to have like a marathon communication, if I get myself into a play mode, and that includes joy and love and happiness, usually I do it from actually doing play type things. Like I like to hula hoop. I try to roller skate. I'm not very good at it yet. I'm not very good at both of those actually. And that's part of why I like them so far. But I like to do things, sing and dance and different things like that, where I'm elevating my frequency greatly. And then I go into channeling. I also will do that often when I go into longer meditations, which brings me to the next thing that they mentioned. When we are meditating for, 45 minutes and longer, we're accessing higher aspects of our consciousness within that trance-like state that we go into, right? So within that, communication is very, very easy. And if you go into the meditation with the intention to communicate with your star family, then and you do it, consistently, consistency is key for those that are starting this journey, then you will have connection and communication. They're waiting for us to connect in with them. I have people, that come through with what I do, my service soul work in the world, and their team is with me the night before, like so excited. They're like, yes, we're finally going to get to talk to her and meet her or him, right? And we're going to have this moment with them where we can now carry that over into the waking conscious reality. And if those of you who are not familiar with quantum hypnosis, I highly recommend having at least one of those in your life. It can really, really expand your consciousness. It's very much a fast track for consciousness expansion. I always say it's a catalytic force of consciousness expansion, and it will affect all of your levels and layers if you go into it with that intention, right? If you go into it with the intention of, I'm ready for my next step, let's open it up. So just a little thing about that. You guys probably know who Dolores Cannon is, Barbara Lamb, Candace Craw Goldman. This is the world that I'm speaking of with hypnosis, not quacking like a duck on stage or anything like that. So let's see, what did they bring in next? Yeah. So I hold frequencies, as I think Joan read earlier, for Pleiades, Sirius, Arcturus, Lyra, and Andromeda Galaxy. And one of the things that I know to be true, and I'll speak from my own perception, is that when we are connecting with different races, it is because there is a connection outside of the human experience with them. Generally, I find that they are our star family, so to speak. We have lives with them, or have had lives with them, depending on how you look at it, or will have lives with them, right? Because time and space is a little, it's a little wobbly here compared to everywhere else, right? So when I had remembrances and activations of my lives with these beings, and integration and communication, that activated those frequencies within my human experience. And this is how we work. Of course, I identify loosely as a starseed. I think we're all starseeds, but that is how this expression works. So when we have an interaction with them, it doesn't really matter to me what dimension they're from. I know that's interesting maybe to some people. I know I will get information about that, but that information comes out more when I'm talking to other people. For me, it's about the connection that we have. It's about the remembrance that they are offering me to find within myself, because that's what our soul team does, right? And it's about remembering who I am in that way, so that I can bring the masteries and specializations from that particular life. We'll use the word life loosely because not everything is physical, but I can bring that into this human experience and ground it in, integrate it, ground it into the human experience, and then share it with everyone in service, right? So I think that's a really important part about contact. Like when we can get past, our entire inner world, our landscape, our inner belief landscape, the beliefs, the stories, the patterning, when all of that with contact, let me see if I can, they're bringing in a bunch of information. So let me see if I can slow them down real quick. When we're bringing in, thank you for bearing with me. When we're bringing in, and meeting that aspect of ourselves, essentially, right? It is a frequency match with that being. We are frequency matching. That means all of our, low-hanging fruit, consciousness-wise, will come to the surface to be healed and released and transmuted and integrated, that kind of a thing, right? So when that happens, it's a fast track, right? So it fast tracks us into our consciousness evolution. And I think I'd lost track a little bit. I wonder if someone on here could tell me what I was talking about right before that. When I told them to slow down, they really slowed down. So I don't know if anyone's watching. I'm not seeing any comments. Okay. So Alan, are you listening? Could you tell me what I was just talking about?
I was just distracted for a second, but just start where you're at.
Probably because I was losing touch for a second. And let me
No,
see.
you're good.
Frequency. You
Frequency
were
matching.
talking
Yes.
about frequency matching.
Yes. Thank you, Joan. So this is the joy of channeling sometimes, you guys, live and in person. So basically, yes, I'm going to look at my notes because we were going into holding frequencies for them, and the frequency matching will do that as well, right? So when we have a being step in, it not only is serving as a permission slip for those frequencies to activate within our own human experience, within our consciousness, but it's also frequency matching. We will elevate in vibration to get as close as we can to that frequency match because we hold all of the dimensions within us, right? So where I see the beauty in that is that it's a fast track. What can happen in those moments, though, is that it can lead to a period of like a dark night of the soul, where all of this stuff is coming forward and we feel really bombarded. But that is a fast track that we designed for ourselves. So if we can move through that with love and grace and compassion for ourselves, and understand that we're probably also clearing for the collective as we do that experience, as we have those experiences, and do the inner work, dive deeply within ourselves. What happens when we come out is this beautiful expansion and opening. And we'll find through connection and communication with those beings, if we don't run into fear, too much fear, because they will step back if there's a lot of fear. It's a lot for their energetic systems to handle, most of them. So if we can stay in neutrality or above with them, what we will find that will happen going forward is they will serve as specialists with us in one way or another. And so, my team, as I was doing this, I'm just going to read it. So this has evolved over time and it does shift and expand, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of how contact and connection with, our star family can assist us in our lives. So, and there's so much more than what I'm going to say. This is just very short blips about each of them. So for the Arcturians, within my life right now, I have a specialist Arcturian healing team that works with me within my hypnosis sessions in my multidimensional energy healing. Now, I also work with everybody's individual healing teams, right? So I'm not saying they're the only ones, but they're almost like like the best surgeon in the nation or the best surgeon in the world, right? For whatever it is, they're like that with almost everything. And so I will bring them in to work with me. So this is one way that the Arcturians are working with me, but they also work with me as energetic technicians for my own energetic system. We all have an energetic system that has a lot of energetic technology in it. It's part of the human design. And so being more proactive, sometimes a little too much probably, with my own, creating my reality, I mess around in my energy systems. And, sometimes I will say, hey, I would like this to be, adjusted in this way or whatever. And often I find they'll be the ones that step forward, and they will come forward. Now, one of the beings within this healing team is actually on my soul team, and the others are coming in for this cameo. I don't know how long I'll be working with them. This could be like something that lasts forever, or it could be kind of like a cameo experience where they come in, teach me things, and then leave, right? So, and that's another thing that can happen with these beings. But they also help me access galactic information, and give me understandings, a broader understanding of how it is pertinent to my earth experiences and being of service within the unity consciousness frequencies. So I always say that I'm a peace ambassador, but technically what I do is unity consciousness based. So I guess I should change that, Joan, and say unity ambassador. Because what we think of peace is not exactly what I bring. The frequencies that I hold are more for unity, right? Understanding ourselves in oneness. So that would be how the Arcturians work in my life. And this is just to give you guys an idea of what it's like when you connect in with the different star beings in your team, things that they can help you with, things that they can guide and assist you with. And really, it's not looking outside of yourself, because in a higher aspect, we are all in oneness. So the Pleiadians and Sirians, it's interesting. They share a lot of commonality with me. So they definitely assist with consciousness expansion. I'm constantly receiving channeled messages. In fact, I have one that I'll read that was a mixture from one of my counsels in a little bit if I have time. I don't know how I'm doing on time, you guys, but if anyone wants to let me know. So they also help me with channeling and access to galactic wisdom and knowledge, again, with the specializations thing, because every time we're in connection with an aspect that we have a parallel with, we are now accessing those specializations. Okay, thank you. We're now accessing those specializations and bringing them into the human experience. That's the whole point of being here, is to bring that in and raise, serve as seeds of light, seeds of codes, wisdom, knowledge, frequency for the rest of humanity. We're all doing that for each other. We're all catalysts, right? Expansion catalysts. And so the Sirians are interesting too, because as Sheila helped me figure out I was a specific type of walk-in, it was, I think, the last one that she mentioned in her presentation earlier. I had a step-in experience, and that's what I called it, a step-in experience. And with that, I requested a bunch of things, and I got them. And the Sirians, I realized much later in life that my Sirian connection, I have 2 parallel lives that are alive and are from Sirius. And both of them, I have 4 that I can just mention right now. I have 4 parallels that are galactic ambassadors for the Federation, which I call Galactic Federation of Light. There's lots of different names for it here, but it's in the overarching confederation. But my Sirian actually is very interesting because I have direct access to a lot of knowledge and wisdom and codes and keys and frequencies. I think we all do. But in particular, the way I'm able to relay them comes a lot from that one of those particular Sirian lives, because they are essentially what we would call, I don't know, like a mystic, a sage, and, also like a scientist all in one. So they are he, I should say, is he has direct access to repositories of information and knowledge. And so a lot of my claircognizant knowing and remembrance comes through that expression. And then the Lyrans, I love this. So the Lyrans help me with mental and emotional intelligence. They help me a lot with my inner work and understanding how to do it and why and what it does and how it will affect, my consciousness expansion. And definitely they've helped me so much understand my multidimensional nature and how to integrate those aspects within my human life. So, my Lyran parallel, I'll say, and just in particular using her, interacting with her, I get deep understandings of other multidimensional expressions that we can ground into the human experience, like understanding that we can communicate with our parallel aspects. That came through them. And explaining to me that there were parallel aspects came through them. It was furthered by one of my Pleiadian parallel aspects. But I think what we'll find is a lot, just like what Geraldine was talking about earlier, and probably others, is that, we are they and they are us, right? So it's not so much about the names, it's not so much about the races, and it's not so much, it is about the races, like that's a way we can understand it, right? But when we're connecting and communicating in with them, they blend their frequencies a lot. I call it braiding. They braid frequencies for connection and communication. And it could be an angelic being with, a Lyran, with your high self, with, a dragon. You know what I mean? Like whoever's on your team. So to me, it's not as much about the different races and they fit only in this dimension, because a lot of them play in all of the dimensions, right? Including here with us, right? So to me, it's more about the connection that we have and how they're helping us, assisting us to live the human experience, while at the same time changing it from within, because that's what we're doing right now in this period of humanity's evolution and consciousness. We're changing the human experience by what we're choosing in each now moment. And we're deflating things that no longer serve us and aren't fun anymore. And we're inflating things that do serve us as a collective, not only just us as humanity, our co-inhabitants, right? And our planet, right? And then the Andromedans, sorry about that segue. I hope it was entertaining. The Andromedans really helped me with universal and cosmic consciousness and understanding my place within the cosmos and universally. I have a very early Andromedan life when we were creating the Andromedan experience. So, that aspect of me has been around for billions and billions and billions and billions of years. And so they really help me to remember who I am as a soul, not just this human experience and my soul in this, but how my soul aspects, have formed what I'm doing here, right? And why I'm here in the first place, and what I'm here to bring in my own expression with my own experiences, but also what I'm here to offer in service to humanity and, our galactic family, right? So that's what I would say. I had a bunch of other things that I was going to talk about, but I want to make sure I'm okay on time. I think I'll skip, or maybe I'll just do a quick version of the...
Like 5 more minutes, Bridget.
Okay, thank you, Neil. So, let's see, energetic technology. Okay, so let's just talk about consciousness communication real quick. And we'll maybe I'll do a YouTube video on the energetic technology part. So consciousness communication, when you begin to communicate with, we'll just say your star family, beings that are on your soul team, that will come in a lot of different ways for each of us. And really, there is no right or wrong way for it to happen. But what you can do is give them direct feedback. And this is something they wanted to come through very strongly last night, is if and when you find yourself connecting and communicating with your star family, you can and should give them direct feedback about how the communication is happening on your end. If you're only hearing tones, you can say, "Hi, self, I'm only hearing tones in my right ear. I'm not receiving any other information," right? That is possibly them adjusting your technology so that you can better hear one another and send and receive information to each other. If you have unusual things happening within your body, when they're running energy through you and it feels like you have lightning running through you, or they're sending vibrations that feel like it's like water is rippling inside of you. When those kind of things happen, when and if, let them know what is happening. Because as they do understand themselves in oneness with us, there is a lot about the human experience that they don't understand. If you have a sudden bit of download information coming in and it's coming in super frequently and you're having a hard time keeping up, you can say, "Hey guys, can you slow it down a little bit and then build back up?" Because the idea is to be at a place where you can receive all of it, right? But initially, it might be better for you to have it in smaller pockets where you can integrate that information. So I think the end of what I want to say to everyone is you have the ability to communicate and connect with these beings. Every single person on this planet has a soul team. And you can also really assist not only through being open, right, and having the intention to connect and communicate, but you can assist the smoothing of the process, so to speak, by actually communicating what's happening as it goes on. Because some of them have not been human before. Some of them don't know the human experience in the way that we do. And it is really, really, really important to remember that as sovereign beings, we can say that's too much, and it doesn't mean it's going to stop, right? We can also say enough of that right now, and I'll call it back in when I'm ready, right? So as sovereign beings, we can do whatever we want. I highly recommend opening and, allowing things to flow through, but also telling them to taper is okay, right? So take the memory, take this to memory, so to speak, what I'm telling you. You have a team, use them. They're here for a reason. And one of the things I hear on repeat is, remember, we're here for guidance, right? Remember who you are is playing on repeat, but also remember to ask us for assistance with things. But also what they're bringing through tonight that's really important, I think, for a lot of people who are already entered into this connection and communication is to know that this is a two-way street. And there are many of us, especially starseeds and walk-ins, that come in to help them understand the human experience in a very different way than they did before. So when we do that, direct communication, right? This feels too intense for me. It's too much at this time. That is not a bad thing to say to them. They come from a place where consciousness communication is innate with them, and it is very efficient, and it holds a lot of information simultaneously. So we are learning how to access that within our human experience. So it is okay to tell them, hey, ease up a little bit. Okay, I'm ready for more. Okay, I'm ready for more.
You work with people one-on-one too. You're coaching, you're doing sessions. So just tell people how to find you and when you're on Clubhouse and how to have a private session with you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alan, for that time step in too. It was very smooth.
I was waiting for a breath. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't take this very often when I talk, So you can find me at BridgetReneeHolliday.com. That is the word bridge with one T, Renee with 3 E's. Alan has corrected me because I always say E, 2 E's at the end. And then Holiday actually has 2 L's. You can find me there, and I offer my service soul work is Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis. It is also Awakening and Ascension Mentoring, which is kind of what we've been talking about today. And then also I do multidimensional energy healing for those who are really drawn to me for that. It's not my primary focus. But I'm on Clubhouse every Monday and Friday. And Clubhouse is a drop-in audio only app. If you guys don't know what it is, Alan is on there a lot too. That's where we found each other. But
and your club is Awaken Ascend. So go to that club.
Awaken Ascending. Every Monday and Friday at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, and 12:30 a.m. UK. You can find us there. And yeah, come hang out with us. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you, guys.
Bridget, you were wonderful. Oh my God.
Thank you.
So happy to have you connecting like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Neil.
I'm coming to Clubhouse.
Sure. Well, stick
Joan,
around
these
if you want,
kisses are for
Bridget,
you.
because we're going to, after we do a little closing, we're going to bring everybody on and just say hi to everybody.